Okay. You guys want to just record that last little chunk then?
Let's record a chunk.
Okay. Let's chunk it up.
Chunky chocolate chip podcast.
Hey everybody, how's it going? Welcome to Pursuing Pixels. This is episode 3, and my name is Kevin Portelli, and I'm here with DJ.
That's me. I'm DJ.
DJ Mandolini, that is.
Thank you.
And Randall Nolery.
That's me. I'm Randall.
It's a me.
That's exactly how I say it.
Anyways, we let's just dive right into this here.
Let's do it.
This week, or last week, I should say, we decided that we were gonna finally take a stab at some Hollow Knight, or take a hammer and nail at God, I'm just kill me. Kill me now.
You're off the podcast.
Right when I said I wasn't going to overthink anything that I was saying, just started saying a bunch of stupid shit.
Nail's appropriate. That
I guess. Hammer and nail, though, just...
the hammer part, not so much.
Yeah, trying too hard.
We're just gonna
but anyways,
this thing in.
So we played Hollow Knight.
Anyways, yeah, what I was trying to get to is DJ had played some before.
I loved it.
Yeah, and he's been gabbing at me a bit, to get playing it for a little while here.
I'm so pumped.
Our buddy John also has been pestering me to play it along with the entire internet.
Yes.
Yeah, it seemed like when this one came out on Switch, there was like a big boost in like, oh man, Hollow Knight is the best Metroidvania I've played in a really long time. So I've had it sitting on my Switch for a while and decided to finally give it a try. So DJ, why don't you start things off here? I know Randy didn't have a ton of time to get into it this week, and you have.
I mean, I've put
played
40
through
plus
it before.
hours.
Yeah,
there you go.
Yeah.
Not in this past week, but if only. Yeah, actually, like it was funny when I played it. It was around Thanksgiving time last year, and I was ridden with strep throat, and so I was just hunkered down that entire week in bed playing Hollow Knight all day, and it was, despite the strep throat, one of the best weeks of my life.
So what about it? Like, what got you so sucked in? I mean, I know it's a little easier to maybe get sucked into something when you're down for the count. You know, I'm just coming off hernia surgery recovery, and yeah, it's like,
yeah, I mean, so in the last episode, we talked about how like I just get so immersed in games like Dark Souls, and I think Hollow Knight, you know, while being a different type of game, has a similar atmosphere.
Right.
Maybe similar difficulty level, although way more fair.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't played much Dark Souls, and I know we touched on that a little bit last week, and I know you touched on the comparisons between the two games.
Yeah. I mean, there have been some bosses in Hollow Knight that I had to go like 2 straight hours just trying to beat. So it does ramp up. But yeah, I love the atmosphere. We were talking about this. I think it just does everything really well. Like, not necessarily like there's any one thing that's amazing, but I love the atmosphere. I love the feel of it. I know you were saying you think it's maybe a little on the floatier side.
Yeah, DJ's giving me that look.
You're out of your mind.
But yeah, I probably about 7 or 8 hours in. I've not spent 2 hours fighting any bosses, that's for sure. I've only come across maybe 2 or 3 bosses so far, but I think I have most of the abilities that you end up unlocking.
Nice.
You get like a dash maneuver and then a wall jump. Those are kind of the 2 key. I've gotten a few other things, but those are like really make traversal just game changers. And you get some are they called charms or badges?
Charms, yeah.
Charms that you put on like a belt or whatever you put. You equip them, and you have a limited number of them. And certain charms will cost 1 notch or 2 notch or 3 notch. I don't know how many 2 notch is. I don't know if it goes beyond 2. Everything I have only requires.
It goes beyond 2.
Okay.
That system's kind of interesting too, because it kind of caps you with the things that you can use at any given time and forces you to be creative with the combinations.
Yeah, it's kind of similar. We touched on it a little bit with Flint Hook last week. Like, kind of a similar system to like okay, do I want to go with like buffing up my defense or buffing up my dash ability or taking, you know, a more defensive approach or whatever, you know, whatever the combinations are. But I do find it a little bit annoying that some of them, at least for me, are almost seem to be required. I mean, I know you could probably get the map down good enough or well enough to not need that little charm that puts your cursor or whatever, like the little emblem of your face on the map. You know, I think it's the compass or whatever that shows where you're located on the map. I guess maybe if you got it down, you know, if you've played once you're maybe 20 hours into the game or something, you know, maybe you know the world well enough and finding your way around. You know, me personally, I found the worlds, even though the design is clean and it looks nice, it's a little bit repetitive's not quite the right word, because it does seem like everything is unique, but at the same time, like, it's redundant. Like, the art style is just kind of like every zone is just a slight tweak, and I don't know, something about it is just a little bit samey to me. So I had a hard time like recognizing, oh, I'm in the lower left corner of this map, like, until I found the compass, you know. I just had a really hard time knowing where I was at. Like, nothing seemed very memorable to me. Or I shouldn't say nothing, but not very often.
I definitely went map and compass very quickly. Just like, I just know myself. If things are, like you said, looking a bit samey, I need that, because I can't differentiate. I get lost very easily in those situations. Yeah. And speaking of the map, or speaking of the charms, I should say, is I didn't quite finish that thought, but like, one of the charms is like, when you're attacking right at the beginning of the game, when you start off, whenever you attack, whether you're hitting an enemy or not, you get like a little bit of a knockback. And one of the charms allows you to negate that knockback, which when you're climbing these like kind of vertical corridors, or vertical columns or whatever, it sometimes is a little frustrating because you're attacking enemies and then you end up falling down all the way down the shaft. And you're just not able to, you know, when you don't have the wall jump or the dash yet, you know, you're really not able to. You know, you're just replaying a lot of platforming segments over and over again, and the platforming feels good, but it's definitely a little floaty. And before you have that knockback, at least for me, or before you can get rid of that knockback, I should say, I just found it to be a little bit difficult to get around, or a little bit frustrating. But now that I'm about 8 hours in, I'm definitely feeling like pretty comfortable with the dash. You know, it's a set length dash. It's not like you can tap the button and do like a short little one. It's like if you hit dash, you're doing a full, you know, length dash. So once you kind of get the hang of that and get the hang of how the wall jump works, but you have a really like high jump. It's a little bit floaty.
See, I think that's why it seems floaty to you, because like, to me, when you say floaty, what initially I thought you meant was like, as like how your character, how fast they're coming down.
Well, both. I think for me it's both.
See, I don't think. Oh man, I think he jumps higher than you expect, which could give a floaty impression, but it
does give you this like pressure sensitive jumps, you know, or not, maybe not pressure sensitive, but you can do like a little tap and just do like a small little hop. So it does feel good in that regard once you get the physics down, but it is a little bit, I don't know, it just doesn't feel, it just doesn't feel quite right.
Do you think it's too loose then? Like, is it just like a looseness in the control?
I don't know. It's like the arc of the jump just feels odd to me. As something, I don't know how to put it other than that. But yeah, it just doesn't feel quite. It doesn't make the platforming parts feel as good as they could.
Right.
If it was like a little tighter, but it does feel good to like dash through some like a little spiked hall, or a little, you know, just like a little segment, do like some wall jumps and dash between a bunch of pits. It's definitely fun to platform around. It's just like kind of like DJ was saying, the game does a lot of things really well.
Yeah.
But nothing that's like that transcends, like, no, there's no element, at least from what I've played so far, that really transcends like, oh, this is amazing. It's just kind of really well done. And me personally, like I said, I'm not super into the art style. I like it okay, but it's just not fully bringing me into that world. It's just a little too samey.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm having fun playing it, and I intend to continue playing it. One of the things that I really love about the game is like how it lets you know that something is nearby. Like, for example, the map, when you first find that, there's like a character, Conifer or Cornifer. I thought there was an R in there somewhere, but whatever his name is, he's like humming. You know, you're kind of like going down and you see like a couple loose scraps of paper. And you'll hear like a and you just know he's nearby, and that'll be, in every different zone of the map, which the map is huge. And I haven't even probably uncovered half of it yet.
No.
And same thing with like the most recent boss that I fought was the dung defender, and you just hear him like grunting as you're like getting in the. It was still quite a few rooms out, but you just kind of hear these like little like huh, 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 in the background. And it's just kind of cool that you as you're exploring, because you don't really know where you're going, and in a lot of cases maybe you haven't found the map for that area yet, or whatever. You're just kind of poking at the edges of the map. Even when you buy the map, it's not completed, so sometimes you can see, there's an opening here, I can see where this leads, and then map that out once I've been there.
How did you feel about? Sorry, Dan.
No, go ahead.
How'd you feel about the fact that that what you explore on the map doesn't appear until you go to the bench?
Okay, so
write it all down.
And we should mention that. So one of the mechanics in the similarities to Dark Souls is that you have to go to a bench, or this game's version of a bonfire,
right?
To save and to save your progress, and to chart the map. So like if you do go to an area that hasn't been charted, or you find something or a bug, most of the characters are bugs, right? Like the NPCs and stuff. So you find like a bug that can upgrade your nail or your sword, or your upgrade your. What else can you get? You can just buy stuff at different shops and whatnot, different badges and charms, or I guess they're just charms.
Yeah.
And so I don't know. I actually kind of like that. I was a little off put by that at first, even in the sense of like having to get back to the, you get to a boss, you die, you go back to the bench from the last time you saved at the bench, and you have to make your way back there and recollect the money that you got. And, if you die on the way, you lose all that, so definitely exactly the same as Dark Souls in that regard. But I did kind of like that. It made it feel like you were, I don't know. I do wish the benches and even like the stores and the fast travel mechanic. Have you gotten any of the fast travel at all, Randy?
I haven't, no. I've definitely found a couple of benches, but I don't think I have the ability to fast travel.
Okay, well, it's not exactly fast travel per se, but you almost open up like a subway system of sorts, and you can pick different points on the map, but then those don't really lead anywhere. It's not like you like get off at this station and you're right by the shops in that area, or you're right by this NPC that you can trade stuff in with. Like, it's all really like you got to do a lot of traversal manually.
Right.
I think like once you get those abilities that, improve the speed at which you platform, it just, I don't know. I think it just feels great to just zip on by segments.
It does. I agree with that. Yeah, I do. I did like how like once I got the dash or once I got the wall jump, I was like, I can just fly through this segment that took me quite a bit longer before. That was a lot more tedious. But I do think that it's still like I find myself just looking at the map constantly, like, okay, where am I at again? Where am I at again? Am I going the right way? Like it does break up the flow of the gameplay to me a little bit. When if I'm specifically trying to get to a certain area, like if I get to a new zone and I'm just kind of exploring, I get in the zone with that and I get in like a good groove or a good rhythm. But like once I have the map, I find myself like, okay, I need to get over there where I haven't been yet, and then I'm just constantly like, check the map, check the, and I do love how the map, like when you hold it, like it doesn't pause the game at all,
right.
And you actually like you can keep walking slowly while your character actually like pulls out a map, and holds it in its hands. I do. There's like a lot of nice little touches like that that make the game or the world feel really alive. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not fully bought in. I don't understand what puts this game a cut above, personally, like other games in this genre or in this style. But I am having a good time, and I intend to keep playing more. I don't mean that to come across as any kind of slam or like I hate Hollow Knight or anything like that. But yeah, for me, it's just not quite.
The bar was set too high.
Yeah, exactly. Playing, like, just getting to it at this point, I had just heard so many amazing things that probably impossible to live up to my expectations at this point. But these types of games are not always my thing either. Like, just big, huge exploratory maps. I kind of like a more succinct, mechanics-driven thing. Not that this is not, but just like one or two core mechanics, and that's kind of it. That tends to be what I like to focus on.
Right.
But how about you, Randy? I know you said you're only a couple hours in, maybe, but are you feeling like you definitely want to see more of what this game has to offer, or am I talking you out of it here?
No, I do want to see more of it. I liked what I've played so far. And yeah, I've already bought it, so I might as well see more of it. But and you guys have kind of talked around it a bit too, that besides the atmosphere, I do like the cohesiveness and kind of the polish of the presentation in this game. Things like you had given that example around the humming and things like that just, those are extra elements that the game designers kind of added in to bring you into the experience. And I'm a sucker for stuff like that. So to hear that there's more of that and that they put that level of detail and polish into this game does make me want to play it more. But the other side of that with the atmosphere is it is a bit gloomy, and
yeah,
I tend to be definitely more of the kind of colorful, more energetic type of,
give me my
dystopian settings. Come on.
give me my twee indie games.
Pretty much. Kevin and I are on the same page there. But it's okay. It's these games have their own niche, and I'm glad that this exists. There's not a lot of games like this exactly, with this type of style. So yeah, I'll definitely see more of it, because I'm only a couple hours in, and yeah, I feel like there's obviously a lot of game there.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to playing some more, but yeah, unless you have anything to add, DJ, we can probably
I'm just disappointed.
Move on from there.
No, those are fair points. I love this game, but so I'm glad we started talking about it, because I think I may dive back in soon. So
yeah.
You've rekindled that love.
Yeah, and we'll follow up on it as we get further along in the game, I guess, if we have anything worth bringing up, we'll get back to it.
For sure.
But moving along here, I know DJ played a few other games this week.
Just a couple.
What do you feel like starting with? You make the call here.
Guess we can go chronologically. So right after I finished playing Dark Souls, I jumped into What Remains of Edith Finch, which was one of the PlayStation Plus free games for May. And it's a story-driven game, which I don't have a ton of experience playing, I'd say.
First person,
yeah.
Okay.
I'd liken it to Gone Home, if you've played that. Or
I still don't play that.
Yeah, me too. But I'm familiar with at least for the reference sake.
Yeah. So the basic premise is you're this woman revisiting your old family house, and your family has a curse, let's say, where a lot of family members die prematurely, and so you're kind of going through the deaths of all these past relatives of yours. Like you're playing the moments
from their perspective.
Okay. Yeah.
Interesting.
And each for each family member whose past you're visiting, it's very different mechanics that you're asked to execute. Like one of them, you're this baby in a bathtub, and you're just like controlling all these bath toys, and
is it challenging in any way, or are you just kind of going through the motions, or does it vary?
It's not challenging.
Okay.
But it's just, I don't know. I got to a part where it's just like I ended up caring about this family,
the Finch family,
the Finches. And yeah, it's also very straightforward in that you're not doing a ton of exploring, which is weird because you're going through like this house that you're going through has like many secret chambers, and it's very complex, like complexly built.
That's cool.
But yet your path is fairly obvious, and there's not much veering off course.
Okay.
Which I appreciate.
Yeah, I don't mind that.
I don't,
especially when it comes to these story games.
Right.
Yeah. Especially like, in those you tend to walk a little slower and everything. It's just like, I don't want to spend my time like walking over here and have it not be anything
just to hit a dead
worthwhile.
end. Yeah.
Um,
I like to also know that I'm not missing anything per se. I mean, maybe if that's the point. I know some games give you the choices. I know DJ is also going to talk about Walking Dead a little bit
tell
later.
them what I'm going to talk about.
But like some of that's kind of the point is like you make your choice and you miss out on the other content,
right?
Or the other branching storyline paths. Where like this is like, but if it's going to be something that's just like a straightforward, cohesive story, I want to just know that I'm not missing something because I missed some secret glowing door on the side or something. It's just like, take me along that path, put me on that Mr. Toad's Wild Ride or whatever. Put me on
for the interactive movie.
It's a Small World.
Oh God.
And so, yeah, I'd say the game definitely respects your time, which I appreciate. Like, it only took me a few hours to beat.
I was wondering about that. Okay, so, that's pretty good.
Nice bite size.
And this is from, you said from Red Sparrow Games. Is that
Giant
Sparrow Games. And they also did, which I think it was either a PS Plus game or maybe I just bought it on sale a long time ago, but they did The Unfinished Swan as well, which was on PS3 and then they ported it over to PS4. But another kind of similar, like, walking, I hate using that term as well, walking simulator, but you just kind of walk around and you throw big like paint blobs at the wall, and I think it does evolve beyond that, but that's just kind of, that's how you reveal the world. So both like kind of, I know they're both story driven and kind of have a similar format, but definitely seems like they take some or incorporate some interesting elements and mechanics into the storytelling. Yeah, I don't know. Do you have anything more to add about that, DJ?
I mean, I could contrast it to The Walking Dead Season 2.
Should we get that all out of the way right off the bat here?
Let's kill it.
Okay, yeah. Knock it out.
So, whereas What Remains of Edith Finch seems to respect your time, I feel like a lot of time is wasted wandering around looking for random items in Walking Dead.
And how does this work? Because I know you can like pick branching story paths that we already mentioned, but like, how do you control? Are you like controlling a third person character that walks around, or are you just picking dialogue and watching cutscenes? Or
you're controlling a third person character. Sometimes you're walking around talking to other people, or you're trying to, solve these little puzzles like break into a house and don't get spotted.
So like point and click game vibes, kind of. Without point and click, like you're controlling the character with an analog stick or whatever, but
I mean,
adventure game kind of deal.
I guess.
Like you're not. Do you have to react at all to like, I gotta dodge this in real time, or is it all?
There are
like
some quick time events.
Okay,
where it's just like someone's coming at you and it'll really quickly do an arrow to the left, so you gotta like
jump to the left. Yeah.
Which aren't necessarily, you don't know when those are going to come necessarily. Which I like, just being able to watch a story and not have to worry.
To know you're in cutscene mode and know like, okay, I can just set the controller down for a sec or whatever.
It's Walking Dead though. There's zombies about. You gotta be alert.
But yeah, a lot of the gameplay is, dialogue trees where it's usually like, oh, like this character wants one thing and this character wants another thing, and who are you going to side with?
Right.
You can never, satisfy everyone. So the strategy I like attempted to, I tried to please everyone. So like whenever there was an option where I could put myself at risk, I was just like, oh, well, I'm not going to die. So I'll take the hit on that one. It didn't really work. I mean, people are going to die regardless of what you choose.
Yeah.
There's some impact you can have at the end. I don't want to spoil anything, but
I'm assuming that you played Walking Dead Season 1 before at some point before you went into this one?
I did not.
Oh.
I mean, I've got experience with Telltale games.
Yeah.
Like, I've played like Batman, Game of Thrones, etc. But like, who needs to, know all the context for a zombie game, they're pretty easy.
Yeah, we're fucking swimming in zombies.
Yeah. Well, you weren't at that point though. It was kind of more of a unique thing back when the first one came out.
Okay. I was gonna say when season 2 came out, because I thought that was a bit of a newer one, but newish.
Yeah, so I don't know. I'd say of the two, I definitely prefer Edith Finch. You know, it just feels like a condensed, like, good experience that left me wanting more. Whereas with Walking Dead, I think I was more invested in the cutscenes rather than the actions I was taking as a gamer.
Sure. Interesting. Okay, because you did finish the game?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
How did you feel about? Did it give you the breakdown? Because I've heard about in those games, like at the end, it shows you like what
the breakdown,
the percent. I like. Have you played any of these as well, Randall?
Yeah, I played season 1 of The Walking Dead. And
chime in.
I also played most of that Batman release as well, and I think I played. Yeah, there was like a Michonne, one of the Walking Dead characters from the TV show and comic. There was kind of a spin-off of that. And I played that through a few years back too.
Oh, damn, a professional.
Yeah. Okay. Have you played more of these as well? Because I've played none of these Telltale games, and to be honest, like especially now after hearing all the shit about them, like closing up the studio and firing everyone and whatever the hell happened, I don't really know all the ins and outs per se. But I heard enough to where like I already hadn't played any of them, and now I'm not overly compelled to play them, especially knowing that. But you know, I am intrigued a little bit. I mean, they had a huge run there for a minute where they were getting licenses for
everything.
You know, it seemed like just about everything. Like you already said, Batman, Walking Dead. I think they did like The Wolf Among Us, which is some other comic series.
Game of Thrones.
There's all Game of Thrones. I forgot about that.
Borderlands.
They like pulling shit out of their ass. I know who needed a Borderlands adventure game, you know. But they apparently they're great too. You know, I mean, I've heard nothing but good things across the board. So I'd be curious. I'd be curious for you guys to dive in a little more, just to. I don't know. I'm just curious a little more about these games. If you have anything to add, Randy.
Yeah, I've liked my time. I think those games, in my experience, are at their best. It's every time I play one of those, like my wife will be sitting at my side on the couch, and then I'll kind of turn to her sometimes, you know, with decision trees. I'm like, all right, which one am I going to save? Here we go. We got 5 seconds. The meter's like coming in on itself here. What are we going to do?
So you have a timer. You have a time, like a limited time to pick these decisions,
because silence is considered a valid. Response
in every scenario, or just about.
Just about.
Okay, that's interesting. That's interesting. Okay, that's already has me like a little more intrigued than just sitting there. You know, I'm picturing like Mass Effect and just staring at this, you know, person's lifeless face, waiting till you pick a cutscene, or till you pick a dialogue response.
Well, I kind of like those games too, because I'm typically, and kind of, it sounds like DJ's similar this way, where like I don't want to be forced into making a choice if I can help it. I want to like please everybody. I want like the most neutral outcome I can get without forcing me down one path or the other. So I want the maximum options available, I guess I'm saying.
Or I want to be the hero in a lot of cases in these games. Like you want to be the good guy that does everything right. Yes. And nobody dies because you made a poor choice or something like that.
Yes.
So,
and they force you into making choices. Like sometimes it's not even conversation. It's, oh shoot, there's zombies on both of these characters and you only have one bullet or something. Like, which one of these two people annoy you less and is going to come with you on their adventure? And this person's got a kid, but this person might be more of a help to your group or whatever. So there's a lot of dynamics at play.
And does it feel exploitative in any way? I mean, is it like making you choose things? Because even when you were talking about Edith Finch, like you're playing as a baby in the bathtub. I'm assuming the baby drowns in the bathtub or something, and like, based on the context you give, not to spoil anything, but I mean, do these games get really morbid, or do they take advantage of like putting you in a position where you're kind of helpless and you're just like, because I'm not a huge fan of that either, when you're put in the position to just be the asshole or just watch something terrible happen, and you're just to watch it happen. You know what I mean? It's just kind of manipulative. It can be.
Yeah. There's not a ton of, so I think they get away with more in The Walking Dead and some of the other Telltale games because they have that kind of comic style, that cel-shaded comic style.
Yeah, and the bold like outlines of the characters, yeah.
So that kind of takes the edge off of some of the gore and the darker tones for whatever reason. It just does. So that helps a little bit that way, at least for me.
Okay. Good to know. Good to know. Maybe I've had PlayStation Plus for a little while here as well, so hopefully I'll take a look at some of these games. I've had them sitting on my system for a while. So
heck yeah.
The other aspect of that too is, like, I was asking DJ if he had played season 1 because I feel like, and I haven't played season 2, but I feel like some of the decisions that you make can carry over into the next season sometimes.
That is true.
Yeah.
When you start up, it will see if you've got any season 1 save files.
Right.
And it will use the decisions you made from that. Otherwise, it will give you a random set of choices.
Okay.
Okay, so you even every time you start off, you theoretically it'll be a little bit different.
Maybe. I only played the one time
multiple times.
To be honest, I wouldn't know what could have been different.
Okay. But good to know. Okay, I'm at least a little more intrigued, to be honest. Like, I like the idea of like this on a timer, and as long as they're not getting manipulative with the storytelling and just putting you in these predicaments of just like, what, look at how fucked up this is.
Right.
It's just like I'm just not interested in that.
I mean, it's more like, what do you do when you're in a tough situation and you've only got short time to make a choice?
Yeah. Kind of like a little mini personality test of like, what do you do? Do you maximize your capacity as a group, or do you rescue the person who's got the kid, or whatever, I like the moral choices, like I said, as long as they're not framed in a super manipulative way that's just framing things to make you see how gross they are.
Right. Do you take the mechanic? Do you save the mechanic even though he's like super annoying, but he's super useful too? Or do you take the other character that you actually like more to talk to and deal with on a day-to-day basis? Things like that.
Cool. I will probably check these out then at some point and maybe follow up in the future. But how about you? I guess we can just, unless anybody has anything to add, we can probably move along to what else Randall's been playing this week.
Yes, I wanted to talk about Tetris 99.
Okay. And they had a little
It's so much fun.
which is only available on the Switch. Am I correct in saying that?
Yes, it is a Switch exclusive, and more than that, it is a Nintendo Online Switch exclusive.
And you can only play online for that matter as well. So.
Well, yes, but...
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
They did relatively recently offer up the option for you to spend, I think, $10 to unlock the Battle Royale mode versus CPU opponents as opposed to people online.
Okay.
I think there's something else, too, that you get for that, but I have not ponied up for that yet.
Just as a way of training before you take on actual people.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Yeah, that's true. And honestly,
I don't know.
That's not bad. That's not a bad thought because this game is hard.
Oh God, yeah, it gets intense, and there's a lot of it depends. Obviously, when you're putting, it's essentially like Tetris Battle Royale. Yeah.
Yep. That's exactly what it is.
99 instead of 100, but
yep.
Yeah.
And you'd say, like, does that concept even work? Like, what does that even look like? But it does work. It's you're playing Tetris, and in kind of a portrait mode, you're seeing your main Tetris screen like any other Tetris game, but around that, bordering on both sides, are 98 other very small screens of the people you're playing against actively. And as they get, Tetrises or they're clearing lines, they are attacking other players to try and knock them out of the game, to earn badges so that they can fight better effectively against the other players or defend. You can even get into options where you are individually selecting one of those other players in Battle Royale, which is crazy because Tetris is hard enough as it is, especially when it gets fast.
Yeah, and this game gets fast.
Oh
quick.
My God. It gets so fast, especially once you get into like 50 players left or like top 10, then it just gets like you're just trying to survive on some point. Like if you haven't, made a bunch of accidental gaps in your lines, you're in good shape once you get to that point because it's just you're just trying to survive.
you're a little bit out of control in some regards because you might just be getting targeted by other players' attacks, which are just going to add rows and just fuck you up in any, in a number of ways.
Definitely. And it does warn you when that's going to happen, but to some degree, like, it's out of your hands if multiple
I believe you can set your like attacks to also stave up, to be like defensive, so that you're attacking people that are attacking you, and negating their attacks. So you do have some control over that.
Yep.
What do you use, like the D-pad or the
analog
shoulder
stick?
buttons, or the analog stick to select like either up, left, right, or down to select like one of 4 different kind of strategies.
Right.
Which are and then you can, I believe, right, you can use the left stick to like aim and select individual, like, hey, this guy's killing it over here, I'm gonna target them.
Right, or look at how close this guy is to the top. Like, what if I move it over on him and just nail a Tetris real quick? I'll knock him out.
Is it clear enough what's going on in the other screens?
It is, but like Randy said before, like, it's so hectic, just your own Tetris game. Like, it's really not feasible to... I'm sure there are people who can, but I am not one of those people.
Me neither.
Who can like focus in. It's easier to just be like, let me set this to defend, or let me set this to attack people, to go for like, you can set it to go for KOs. So you're like, you're going to knock people out that are close to getting knocked out, or you can set it to go for, I think they're called badges, which is why I kept getting this mixed up between this and Hollow Knight.
Yep.
But they call them badges, right? Where you can, what do the badges do? Do you recall, Randy?
Yeah, I think they either like lessen the blows of the hits that you're receiving, or increase the blows of like what you're doing to other players. But I've not fully researched that myself. I just know sometimes I end up with them and I'm doing better as.
Yeah, there's some kind of like buffs basically, like, or little perks that you get. But yeah, it's a little obtuse. They don't do much to explain how this game works, but
no.
But you said they did some kind of like Game Boy event recently as well, right?
Yeah, as of this recording on May 20th, it's still going. I don't know how many more days it'll be going, but it was primarily this weekend where you had to get over 100 points playing in this event, which if you rank high enough, you might get 5 to 10 points per playthrough. But it's there's so many people playing right now, especially during an event, which it's smart of them to set up an event that forces more players to jump into this battle royale format at the same time. Which is great, because it's very easy. Like, oh man, I just played like crap. Well, let me just jump right back in. Oh, there's another 99 players. Let's go.
Yeah,
which is awesome.
And this game is, other than the part that Randy mentioned, or Randall. God, I keep calling you Randy. I'm sorry.
Go back the other part
that, let me edit in all that Randall.
Find
the part that Randall said. Macho Man Randall Savage.
There you go. That's it. That's my handle.
But shoot, I lost my train of thought now. All to make a shitty joke. Shoot, I totally lost my train of thought.
We were talking about the event. So I did get a cool like Game Boy theme as a result of that. I made sure I got that, because that's
a permanent, like you can just play Game Boy mode now whenever you want.
Yes, and it has the music, which is fantastic. Like,
oh yeah,
and I'm pretty sure I want to say it might be one of the first. Maybe it was in Tetris DS, but otherwise this might be one of the only times besides that original Game Boy game where they had this theme and like soundtrack to play Tetris with, which is really cool.
Okay, yeah, I love that Tetris DS version, and yeah, this one does give me those vibes, and I would love. I mean, we'll have to look more into this, and maybe we'll follow up, or at least add it in the notes on the podcast. But like, I would like to follow up and see, because if they have like a $10 version that lets you play against like CPU or just like local users, or like actually pick to like, if me and you can play online, across the country, and like actually just play together, or like me and my cousin who doesn't play a ton of games, but he's been playing a ton of Tetris 99.
Yeah.
I always see him like killing a few minutes playing. I'm like, all right, Brandon's getting in there. So
Tetris is universal.
Yeah, no matter if you ever have played a video game or used a D-pad in your life, you could get it, or even a keyboard, you could probably make it work. So yeah, I definitely would like to follow up more with this game, because if they added a version where you can pay $10, because this is free to play.
Yes.
Otherwise, other than you have to have the Nintendo Online subscription, but I would like to. I would definitely consider spending money on that to be able to play against people that I know and choose who I'm playing against, as opposed to just being in that battle royale format.
Me too.
no matter what. So,
and it's been a success. So I think Nintendo's invested in continuing to update it, which I'm quite happy about. So maybe that $10 value increases over time as they add more modes and more themes and keep it going, keep people's interest up. Because right now, I'd say it's the Nintendo Online killer app. It's the reason to have Nintendo Online.
Yeah, the free NES games that they add every month are great, but yeah, that Tetris is like big time. It's a really fun game. It's no joke. You know, it doesn't have any like. It doesn't prompt you to spend money on the game. Again, this new $10 thing is news to me, but like it's not like it's just like, hey, spend $10 if this is the case.
Yep.
Hey, just spend $10 and get the thing. Not like,
right.
Oh, do you want to keep playing more? Get 100 coins for it's not nothing manipulative in that free to play sense. How some of these games, free to play can be kind of a I don't know, just carries a lot of negative connotations with it.
Nope.
And in this case, none of that comes along with this game, I don't think.
Yep, just subscription based. Nintendo is thankfully pretty good on that stuff, at least on the Switch.
Angered a lot of Fortnite players.
Well, no, Fortnite does it right too, though, because it's like everything is just cosmetic. It's like nothing affects gameplay. You're not spending money to be better at the game. You're just spending money to look crazier, or look goofier, or make your character look the way you want it to look. So I'm all about that because, like, if I'm playing Tetris 99 and having a ton of fun and it's free, and even if they just say, "Hey, give me $2 to get the Game Boy theme," and I'm just like, "Hey, you know what? I'm having a ton of fun playing this game, and I didn't pay any money for it. I'll happily give Nintendo or the guy who made Tetris, I forget, Alexei, whatever his name is.
Yes.
I'll happily give them a few bucks if I'm having fun with this, so I'm totally okay with that. I don't like when it's like, you want to keep playing, spend more money, or you want to actually get these upgrades faster, spend more money. That's a little, again, getting into that manipulative in a totally different area than what we were talking about with Edith Finch and Walking Dead, but still gets into the manipulative, like on the actual gamer, or on the person playing. So
right. Give me my Waluigi theme, Nintendo. My Tetris 99 Waluigi theme.
Oh man! All right, so all right, anything to add on Tetris, Randall?
Nope, just that Tetris is Tetris. It's one of the best games of all time, and if you own a Switch and want to pony up $20 for Nintendo Online, it's well worth your time.
Does it have Tate mode?
Good question.
Yeah, I don't think it does, but it really should. It really should. That's Tate mode is like when like games like Downwell or whatever, where you can turn the screen vertically on the portable Switch. Yeah, with your you can like play vertically, or you can do it on the TV in a lot of cases too. But obviously, it's a little easier to turn the Switch sideways than it is to turn your whole TV.
I would guess no, because then you couldn't see the other players playing. But
right.
That would be kind of fine though. Like you could totally make that work without seeing the other players.
Yeah, you would just only be committed to like doing those main. Okay, I'm going to select up, left, right, or down, and go for the KOs. But you wouldn't be able to do any of the like, I'm going to attack this particular person.
I'd be okay with that.
Yeah, I never do it anyways. So
I still haven't won yet. I've achieved second place, but
I think I've got either fourth or fifth is my best.
That's pretty good.
You've not played it all, DJ?
I have not.
Oh man, you should play some, and we should touch back in.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Cool. I'm gonna dive into a game that both DJ and I have been playing.
Yeah.
If you guys don't mind. This game's called Blazing Beaks. This is from App Lava Games. It's all one word. I'm not sure if I'm pronouncing that right or how they're. I think it's also published by Cubic Games, and they've been publishing just a ton of games on the Nintendo Switch.
Yeah.
And this is another like top-down roguelike. It was 50% off if you owned virtually anything else in their catalog pre-purchase, and I think it might even still be available as of this recording, at least for that half-off price. I know DJ just grabbed it the other day for that $7.50, and it was in early access for a while. It's a top-down roguelike twin-stick shooter. I think I mentioned some of that already. It's got some elements of Nuclear Throne, Enter the Gungeon, Binding of Isaac, anything along those lines if you've played them, and you're kind of crawling through dungeons, collecting items. But it is more of like a true roguelike in the sense you're not really gaining any main progression other than you're unlocking some new items here and there to find along your playthroughs. But like you're not really like Dead Cells, where you're like getting more potion flasks or you're getting more powerful upgrades to start with or whatever. You're not really increasing your abilities. You just have to get better at the game, and you might unlock a few new guns or weapons, but the main kind of gimmick of the game or whatever is that you're collecting, they call them artifacts. So while you're going through each floor or each level of the dungeon, you collect artifacts that all hinder your character or your characters. This is up to 4 players, which is awesome.
Ooh.
But 1 to 4 players. But every artifact you picked up is going to say, like, for example, when you're playing on co-op, there's like artifacts that will specifically affect multiplayer. So like both players can't be fight. Go ahead.
Player with less health can't shoot, or
or the player with or both players can't shoot at the same time, so you can't really just hold down the fire trigger. Or this player, you can pick this up and your max HP will go up by 1, but your co-op partners will all lose 1 health, or vice versa.
Funny. If you pick up a heart, your partner loses a heart.
Yeah, like all kinds of like stacking things like that. But then and then when you get to the shop, they do have guns and different weapons that you can buy, and you can only hold 1 gun and 1 passive or 1 active item at a time. But then your passive items, you trade in those hindrances to this crow that's in each shop. I already said the game is called Blazing Beaks, so it's all you're playing is like birds, ducks, platypus,
you're like, the main gimmick
penguins. Yeah, the main gimmick is it's birds. But like, and each character has slightly different abilities, a pro and a con. But you're trading in your artifacts and all these negative effects on your character at each shop. For then in return you get either hearts or keys and stuff like that, or you get items that then give you perks. So it's all about like the risk reward of like, okay, how many of these am I, or is this artifact worth holding on to? Like every time I enter a new floor, I'm gonna lose 1 HP.
Right.
Whereas, like, is this worth grabbing right now? Like, I'm at the very beginning of the level, I'm gonna go all the way down to 1 health. Is this worth taking before, I don't know how long it's gonna be till I find the shop and the crow and be able to trade that in for an actual perk. So it really is, just like I talked about Moonlighter a little bit last week, which I did end up finishing this week.
Nice.
And I had a great time playing that all the way through, and might even dig into the new game plus a little bit.
Oh.
But this game has a little bit more, like I mentioned with Moonlighter, like having that really linear, like each dungeon you're collecting these specific items to then craft your next powerful weapon, and then same thing at the next dungeon, Like Blazing Beaks is just like, you just have to get better. And you just have to learn the enemy patterns, learn the attacks, learn the way the game works, and learn the different guns, because you can only carry 1 gun at a time, like I said. I don't know, DJ, feel free to jump in, because I'm just rambling here at this point.
No, I love it.
Yeah, anything that's difficult. This game is really tough, by the way.
Yeah, Are the levels randomly generated, or is it the same?
Yeah, same, vibes of the worlds, just like Enter the Gungeon, where like the first floor is the swamp, I think, and the second floor is the graveyard, or second level, or whatever. So it's
and the bosses
same
are
setting,
the same.
That the bosses are always the same, unlike Enter the Gungeon, which has like a rotating, like at least 2 or 3 different bosses for each floor.
Right.
This is like same boss on every floor. It does have rotating difficulty on the boss. It can have between 1, 2, and 3 like skulls on the health bar. So it can be. It seems like it just has more health. It doesn't seem to like change the attack patterns.
I actually think it does.
Okay.
I think
you've played a little bit more than me. We've both probably put in 4 or 5 hours, maybe.
Nice.
You probably maybe a little bit more.
With that muck enemy that we were fighting,
on like the 3rd or 4th level
he
boss.
spits out flies that chase you around. I think the harder difficulty the boss, the more flies he'll spit out at you.
But the pattern itself doesn't change, right?
Correct.
Like they're not doing a totally different array of attacks. It's like the same attack,
it just becomes
more
harder,
overwhelming. Yeah. But yeah, it's a really fun. It's really, like I said, it was an early access game. It just came out of early access. We've been playing it on the Switch, but it's also available on Steam, and I think potentially elsewhere. But I think it's one of those games that, especially if they can like hone some of the, I've had a few small little bugs, nothing crazy, but if they can really kind of hone in some of the finicky elements of the game, and then start maybe adding a few more items, because there's a good amount of guns and items and weapons and different things in the game, but it seems like it's one of those games that has a lot of potential for adding more and more. It seems like a lot of these games seem to do that. Enter the Gungeon, Dead Cells, they just keep adding features to the game. So if this is something that they're going to continue to support, It's already in a pretty solid, fun, good state, especially at that half off price that they had available for pre-purchase.
Yeah, I'm going to have to grab that, especially at that price. Grab one of those 49-cent games so I can get this for $7.50 or whatever.
Yeah, Cubic Games is always putting a bunch of their games on sale on the Switch for really, really steep discounts.
Yeah.
You know, I just got Mana Spark for $2, and I got Astro Bears Party or whatever that game's called for $1. Like ton of good stuff, and especially they seem to want to focus on multiplayer stuff, not exclusively, but they definitely have a lot of like, I don't know, just really simple, like kind of like I was saying, like just a mechanic or two that is taken to an extent, or just kind of honed in. Like Astro Bears isn't anything transcendent, but you're just like running around this like Mario Galaxy like sphere that you're just leaving like a snake trail behind you, and you're just trying to avoid the other players. But it just has that like quick pick up and play. Hey, we got 10 minutes to kill before we go out to this show or before we do whatever. You know, it's like it's perfect for that.
Right.
So Cubic Games is definitely something to look out for on the Switch in particular for just publishing some good multiplayer stuff.
Yeah, a lot of time with those roguelikes, you know, an entire level will be pretty long. And so, you know, I get less excited for them in general. Like, I mean, I love Enter the Gungeon. We put in a ton of hours into that.
DJ and I have both put in like hundreds, or at least 100+ hours each, I would say.
But it's like, you know, after a run of Enter the Gungeon, it feels like a big commitment to replay. Whereas, like, every time with Blazing Beaks, you know, you're just, instead of being thrown into one huge level with many rooms, you're just fired into many small levels.
Yeah.
And I think that gives it a more like consumable feel. Like whenever, you know, we die, I'm just like, okay, we can do another
again.
one.
Yeah. And it's more akin, if you're familiar, it's more akin to the Nuclear Throne format than it is to Enter the Gungeon, where Enter the Gungeon, has these like, each floor is like a big dungeon with like, you know, a dozen or so rooms, where Nuclear Throne will spawn you in a level. You have one screen essentially to clear, and not one screen, you can venture beyond the boundaries of the screen, but like one level, one open area to clear. And then once you clear all the enemies, you move on. And same thing here, but you do get options to, like, you know, in some rooms you'll clear, once you clear all the enemies, the doors open up, and you'll have a door that will either progress through the dungeon, or you can see like the door that has like a monster's mouth with like teeth on it. That's the boss door. Or then the door that has like a little lantern over it. That's the shop. And you can, a lot of times sometimes it'll have all three of those in one room, and you can say, okay, let's try to get a few more artifacts and see if we can cash in, or like, oh man, we have a ton of artifacts already and we can go to the boss, or we can keep going further into the dungeon and see if maybe another shop comes up so we can cash these in before we hit the boss and don't have to deal with all these, you know, defects during the boss battle. So it does have a lot of, you know, I use this term all the time when it comes to games, especially with these roguelike games, but it really has a good balance of that risk reward. I don't know. Yeah, you're always just like, should I pick this up or should I let it go? You know, I don't know. It's got a really nice balance. And it's got a good, like, you know, nothing amazing, but it's got a good like bopping chiptune soundtrack that's got some little like some like slightly like bluesy elements at times, some atmospheric elements. It's like a little bit different from like a normal chiptune vibe, and it's got some nice like just cute pixel art, and it takes a minute to get used to the physics or the way the characters move around, the movement. But once you get used to it, it's really fast, but like it's really fluid once you get used to it. You have like a nice like dash, dodge, roll kind of mechanic. And it feels really good to play. Once you get in the groove, I'm kind of hooked. I'm really having a good time with it.
We're gonna play after this.
Yeah, this all sounds up my alley, especially the multiplayer focus. And otherwise, I'm hearing things that make me think of like Binding of Isaac, and obviously Enter the Gungeon too. And I'm like, oh man, I have to buy this game. It sounds good.
Yeah, and for what it's worth too, it also has we haven't tried this at all, but it also has a tournament mode. Which I believe is, again, up to 4 players, and it's just like a versus like battle arena that has a bunch of different settings that you can change, you know, for different either game modes, or do I want 5 lives each, 10 lives each, all kinds of different settings you can tweak. So definitely seems like a fun multiplayer edition that's just kind of tacked on, but seems pretty. They released a trailer, I think, even that was just showcasing that multiplayer aspect. Okay. So like almost selling that as like a game on its own. So who knows where the game, where the idea started. The wrong game. Yeah, maybe we're just playing the tacked on thing. But having a good time either way. So definitely, especially if you have friends to play with or people to play with, like can't recommend this one enough. I really have been enjoying this one a lot.
That's awesome.
But you had did you want to talk about Mario Party at all, Randy, or did you want to save that for another time?
I could talk a little bit about it.
Well, I think okay. I couldn't remember if we said we were going to save that for later. I'm sorry to just spring that on you, but you played a little with Tina, is that right, or did you play solo or?
You gotta play multiplayer when you're playing Mario Party. Come on, Kevin.
Yeah, I can't believe I even just asked that. You playing some
over here or something?
How you feeling about that solo Mario Party campaign?
That campaign mode. No spoilers.
yeah. Be careful on the spoilers.
No, multiplayer is as intended. That's the way I like to play my Mario Party.
But you were saying you played a cooperative mode, is that correct?
Yeah, I'm not sure if that's new for this version or not. I mean, I haven't super kept up on every Mario Party. I was, like many people, played a lot in the Nintendo 64 era. I still own those games and played some of the GameCube ones too. But
it's definitely a newer feature, if not. I know they've like incorporated some, like you move around the board together as like a group, but I don't know if I've seen. Yeah,
everyone hates that, but
yeah, it seems like this one is just called Super Mario Party on the Switch, and it seems like they were trying to go for like a back to basics, with some new ideas, but a back to basics kind of approach.
Yeah, and I think they succeeded on that. I really like this Mario Party, and maybe that's a byproduct of me coming in kind of fresh, having not played a new one in a very long time, but I'm glad to own a Mario Party especially on Switch, which is, as we were just talking, a very multiplayer centric system, just kind of by its nature. But I like this game. It's got everything you want out of a Mario Party game, all the silly characters, just the laid back energy, the mini games after every turn. There's not a lot of boards in this game.
I did hear that. Do you know if there's any plan of like adding stuff, DLC? No. I know they've been going that route a little bit on Switch, with some of the other games that Nintendo's put out. But
yeah,
have you heard anything about that or no?
I haven't yet, and it's kind of been a minute since it's released at this point. So I thought they would have thrown something out there about it.
Yeah, and that game seems kind of prime for the picking as far as like DLC goes. Hey, new game boards, new mini game pack, whatever. I guess that could get a little daunting, but
I'd throw
seems
money
like
at
that'd be a. Yeah.
How many boards did it come with?
4 to my knowledge.
That's a little light because I feel like they're usually like 6, 7, 8, somewhere in that range. Like, and even that got to feel a little light. Remembering playing back in like I feel like back in the when me and my friends or cousins or whatever would play on the Nintendo 64 or the GameCube, there'd always only be like 2 or 3 that we really liked playing.
Right.
So if you're only limited to that pretty much from the get-go, that's a little bit of a bummer.
Yeah, and maybe that's a artificial limitation, but of the things I can select right now, there's 3 boards and 1 to unlock. So that's all I'm seeing right now. But there are different modes, and that does bring me back to that co-op mode that Tina and I tried out for the first time earlier this week. And essentially, you're taking turns where it's kind of there's always those mini games where there's 2v2 that you can play in the regular mode, but they basically turn that into its own mode where every time now it's kind of 2v2, and they've created a whole bunch of mini games for that purpose. So every time it's just going to be you and your partner playing together, rolling dice at the same time, moving at the same time, which the way they do that basically is, if you've ever played like a strategy game like an Advance Wars or a Fire Emblem where you're moving your kind of arrow cursor around on a grid to get to your next point, that's what you do after you roll your dice. That tells you how many of the spaces you're able to move your cursor to get to land to where you want to. Which they've designed the boards pretty in a pretty interesting way where you can kind of collect coins on the board that are sitting there, or purposely kind of go in a circle so you can land on a space that you want to, that triggers some sort of mini game for everybody. So there's a lot of interesting little meta things that they're doing on the board that's a little bit different than just playing the regular 4-player multiplayer mode. So I appreciate that, because there'll be times where I'm playing with Tina. I'm like, I don't want to just like smash on you in some mini game that I know I'm better at. You know, I want to like crush the CPU players first. So this kind of takes that out of consideration, where we're on the same team. We're collecting coins. We're just smashing on Wario and Waluigi in their CPU forms. So it's fun.
And does that have a maximum of 4 players, or does the Switch allow you to play up to like 8 or anything like that on this version? Or
good question. I think it's 4. I think they kept it as the traditional 4, although obviously the Switch can support more.
I was gonna say that would be like ideal. Like that would make that kind of the ultimate party game, especially if you could do like 2v2, v2, v2.
Totally.
You know, up to 8 players. Like that could really make that interesting.
Yeah.
Although, I mean, I remember back in the N64 days, like a game would take, you know, up to an hour.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
You're doubling the amount of people. That's
that's a good point.
And that's
the
still
mini,
the case.
and actually, in the mini games, if 8 players in the mini games would get a little nuts. So actually, I'm guaranteeing they don't have that.
But playing through a game is still, you know, in either mode is still you're talking about an hour if you want to play the regular normal amount of turns. So you kind of have to know what you're getting into before you start. But it's fun. Like, as the CPU's going, that's when you take a drink of your beer and you wait for the next game to start. You know, it's just one of those type of laid back experiences.
Yeah. There's definitely something to be said about like playing a game that's fun, but that you don't have to be fully immersed or engaged in. You know,
exactly. You're just you pick up that controller again when it's mini game time.
Yeah, like blazing beaks, like we were just talking about. For example, like you got to be paying attention. Like the enemies like will drop little pools of acid, or explosions will happen, or like you really got to be watching your surroundings at all times.
Right.
Whereas sometimes you just want to fire something up and kind of turn your brain off, you know. So
right.
Or play with a friend, or you know, whatever it may be. So Mario Party seems pretty well suited for that. So are you feeling like you're getting that Mario Party vibe that you wanted?
Oh yeah.
Or are you feeling
definitely.
like you're missing that at all? Now you're feeling like
no, I like this game, even with the shortcomings described around the lack of boards. I still think it's well worth it, and you know, glad to see a new Mario Party that apparently isn't making the mistakes of the past of everyone's in the same car moving around, things like that. Nope, like you said, just back to basics. They've done little refinements to make things kind of move faster than they did back in the day. So I think Nintendo's aware of what the complaints were in the past and have tried to refine it while keeping it that classic feel.
That's it's a little bit of a shame too, because I think it was Mario Party 10 or whatever the last one that came out for the Wii U.
Mm-hmm.
When I first heard about it, it was like you can play up to 5 players, 4 being the people playing the game, and the 5th player using the gamepad and being Bowser.
Oh, that's cool.
And like when I heard about that, I was like, this sounds awesome.
Yeah,
this is like Mario Party. You know, you could play if you're having people over. You know, you have like a party and be like, hey, the winner is Bowser, or the loser is Bowser, whatever you want to do. But that's like seemed like a perfect implementation, both of the Wii U gamepad being, you know, independent of what's on the screen of the system or whatever.
Multiplayer,
it's genius.
Underrated system.
It is.
I love the Wii U. There's a bunch of great games, and thankfully a bunch of them for the people that didn't get a Wii U or have been coming to the Switch.
Almost all of them at this point.
But there's still a handful that didn't, and I think potentially this idea is something that's going to get lost in the shuffle, both because the Switch doesn't have the 2 simultaneous screens, but also because, you know, I obviously they just went back to basics here, but I think that's an unfortunate side effect of both the Wii U kind of being a little bit of a failure, at least financially for Nintendo and commercially, but also I don't know, that's just a feature that really I think could have shined if given the proper time. You know, apparently there were other issues with that game, but that was really intriguing to me, and I'm a little let down that that's something that's probably not going to live on.
Yeah, I didn't realize that was the case with that. I might check that out.
I maybe I'm talking out of my ass now that I'm saying it, and you guys are looking at me, or DJ's at least looking off in the distance like I'm talking out of my ass, and Randy is clueless to what I'm talking about. So let me bury myself.
No, I'm not totally. No,
but no, I'm almost positive that that's the case. Yeah, I'm almost positive. So
yeah.
But still happy to hear, that it's you know, because I had a ton of fun playing. I've worn my palms dry or Raw, playing some Mario Party mini games. Yeah.
Yes.
Didn't they make like a glove at some point that you could buy? Not the power glove, but it was like a gym glove, like a fingerless glove so you could rotate the.
See, I was the kid though
that
I'm like, no, we're not playing the first Mario Party because you sons of bitches are gonna ruin my nice pristine analog sticks on my N64 controllers with that stupid spin mini game. So we're just playing Mario Party 3 and 2 sometimes.
I thought I was bad making people take their shoes off in my apartment.
No, that's just common courtesy.
You're like, hey, no more Mario Party 1. You guys are going a little too ham on my joysticks here.
Shoes off, no Mario Party 1. I think that's
shoes
fair.
off, gloves on.
Yeah.
Well, did you have anything more to add to Mario Party?
No, it's just
Randall?
good. I wish that I will say the other gripe I have is I wish they did the full out online where you could play full multiplayer.
It does. Oh, okay. I was gonna say it does have online though, right? But it's just certain modes.
It's from
just
what I could tell,
games.
It's just playing the mini games online. Yeah.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah, I know.
Man, that's a bummer. Because that was on my radar, especially knowing that you and Tina had that. Right. I was like, oh man, that's interesting to me.
Yeah, but I guess it's like, imagine if you're playing on the board and someone like goes away.
Yeah.
They just don't take their turn.
I'll be right back. And you're just like, God damn it, Yoshi. Fucking roll the dice.
No, I would never do that if it wasn't just friends. Like if it wasn't you guys playing.
If we weren't on an active Skype call.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a good point. Though. But still cool that there's some kind of online functionality. And again, maybe there's possibility. I mean, the way they've been supporting Mario Tennis and stuff like that, there's the possibility that they'll do something more with it. But yeah, like you said, it doesn't seem like they've been bringing too much stuff down the pipeline with that.
No, I don't think it's seen the same sales success potentially as some of those other games. But hopefully it finds its audience. I like it.
I thought I had read that it was one of the best-selling games.
What the heck, Nintendo?
Mario Party?
Super Mario Party.
Okay.
Yeah.
Support it.
I mean, maybe that's true. Maybe that's true. But yeah, it would be nice to see them adding a little more content to that, even if it costs money. As long as if it's worthwhile stuff. If it's a couple new boards or characters or mini games, well worth it.
Is that a $60 game?
Yeah.
Okay.
Full price.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Although
how I feel about that.
Speaking of full price games, though, Nintendo just announced those game vouchers. Did you see that, Randy?
I did. Yeah.
It's so you can pay $100 to get 2 game vouchers that will then allow you to cash those in for I think any 2 games. I think there's going to be some limitations.
Definitely
they have
first
these
party.
deluxe crazy editions of $100 digital deluxe.
Right.
I'm sure some of those will be excluded, but it's the example they give is hey, you could buy Yoshi's Woolly World and Mario Odyssey for $100 instead of $120. So, and then on top of that, you're getting your coins back in the Nintendo eShop. So, not a huge, $20 savings. I'm a sucker for buying the physical copies of games, but if you're someone who buys these first party, or at least these full retail price games, I digitally on the Switch, I think that's definitely something that's worthwhile for sure. I mean, that's $20 every time you buy 2 games is nothing to scoff at. So.
Right. It's an indie game right there.
Yeah. You could buy another indie game after that. So
at least gives you the opportunity to get some sort of digital discount on first party Nintendo stuff, which is pretty rare.
Yeah, definitely.
Doesn't come up too often.
Yeah, so that's definitely interesting. I don't know. It seems like they're messing around with what they're offering on the Nintendo Online service, between Tetris 99 and the free-to-play Nintendo stuff, and there was obviously the rumors about the Super Nintendo stuff coming at some point, and whatnot. So I'm curious to see what they do with that in the future.
Any development with that Super Nintendo stuff?
All I saw was that after they were added, they were pulled down out of the people who were hacking into the system, and we found these files. They were no longer in there once the system was updated again. So. But Nintendo's like that, they just keep stuff under wraps when they have control. So
it'll happen.
I want to know when I can sell my Super Nintendo.
Oh no! What?
Or the actual Super Nintendo? DJ's not a sucker like us, right?
I didn't grow up with a Super Nintendo.
Well, but you also don't have that collectible.
Yes.
I gotta have the actual physical cartridge, and I just have to have that stuff. I'm losing that a little bit.
Yeah.
With newer stuff, and I don't find myself going out hunting for old retro games as much as I used to, but or even at all, to be honest, anymore. Yeah, it's getting ridiculous,
Yeah.
But But and I was at a point at one time, I think we've talked about this before, at least on some old episodes that maybe we never will release, or at least haven't released yet.
Yeah.
They don't include me. That's why I'm not getting released.
Haven't had that gold, that DJ charm, that DJ slather. I forgot what I was even. Oh yeah, but I haven't really gone out like hunting for games anymore. And like I used to just buy anything. Like, oh, I heard this game was good, or I've just heard of this game before, and I would just kind of buy it. So I've gotten a little bit out of that habit. So
it's because those games you could buy for $10 or whatever, it was worth just like whatever. Yeah,
I heard this is decent. Yeah, or my friend had this growing up. I kind of have some good memory or fond memories playing this game.
Yep.
But yeah, now those games are all like $25-$30 minimum. It's like, okay, this is like I'm making a serious investment. I could buy a few new games on the Switch for that price, especially with the sales they've been doing. So
yep.
Well, I guess if we're good on Mario Party, I had one more game I wanted to talk about if we have time for a sec. But DJ and I have been playing, and actually right before we called up Randall here, we've been playing some Risk of Rain co-op, which I didn't know was up to 4-player co-op. I thought it was only 2, but it is up to 4-player co-op. It has online co-op. We've been playing on the PlayStation 4, but it is available on the Switch, and I think
been playing
virtually everywhere else.
Just getting killed right away. Not playing anything.
Yeah, I did. I played a lot of this game, or I shouldn't say a lot, but I finally like gave it a fair shake because I played a little bit, wasn't super sucked in, and then my buddy John was always hyping it up like, man, I love Risk of Rain, and then seeing all the hype for Risk of Rain 2 coming out in early access. I think they've already sold over like 1 million copies of that game. And I think they're saying like over a year before they're actually going to launch 1.0, but the fact that like this is coming out, it was just in the air, and I was like, I played Risk of Rain one other time and didn't really get sucked in. And I feel like I should give it a fair shake. So while I was recovering from my hernia surgery, definitely played a lot of that. And it's another 2D side scrolling, different format, but it's another one of these. It's another one of these roguelike games, and it's not necessarily procedurally generated 100%. Like I think the levels have like each level has like a handful of different layouts that it might propagate, but then it will procedurally generate like where the enemies are gonna spawn, or where the portal, you have to find a portal on every level to activate, and once you activate the portal, you have 90 seconds to clear a boss and clear all the enemies that are in the level. And they just kind of like, as you move on, the main gimmick of this game is like as time goes on, the game just gets harder. So the longer you take on each level, like you can spend time looting the levels and trying to kill more enemies, get more money, and use that money to unlock treasure chests or buy items, or upgrade drones that will heal you, or give you like a kind of like attack that will just kind of hovers and follows you around. But the game, the more time you spend on each level, the harder it gets, and it starts to get like to the point where like the swarms of enemies are just completely overwhelming. But one of the things that I really liked about this game is like I have only unlocked, I think, 5 of the characters, but there's up to 12 characters, which again, with these roguelikes, like, I love having the option of like, every character feels pretty different, at least of the ones I've played so far. Like we just unlocked this new like robot style character that has totally different attacks to anything we've done so far. Like the character I've been playing is called the Enforcer, and I'm able to drop a shield and kind of hunker against a wall, and I can block any attack coming from in front of me. So if I'm able to kind of corner myself, I can really be almost invulnerable. There's a handful of enemies that can kind of cause some explosions or kind of fly in from behind and get some hits in on me, and it's not foolproof, but
just about.
Yeah, I mean, you can really kind of exploit that, and every character has their own kind of set of exploits. Enforcer seems to be my best and seems to be the most exploitable from what I've played so far. That's kind of the second character you unlock. But, instead of having the shield, the first character you play as the commando has like a dodge roll that you're invulnerable for a quick second while you roll through, but you have one ability, you have 4 different abilities with each character. One ability is like a pretty much infinite. It has like a time to it or a rhythm to it.
No cooldown.
But no cooldown. And then all your other abilities have cooldown, and those are all controlled with the trigger buttons, which took a little bit of getting used to, especially for a 2D side scroller. I just want to hit X. Yeah. I'm playing on PlayStation. I just want to be hammering those face buttons, So it took a little bit to get used to, and I really did bounce off this game when I first played it. It's got that really zoomed out pixel art perspective that's like really under detailed kind of.
It's like 8-bit.
Yeah, well, even less maybe.
Yeah.
Like it's like a
4-bit.
4-bit. yeah. But it's I don't know. It has a lot of charm, and it has this. The main thing is like you're just stacking these different perks and abilities that can sometimes just get so powerful and so just buffed that it just starts to feel fun, and it is kind of just up to chance, at least from what I have not been able to develop any kind of strategy of like I'm good at this game. It's just kind of dependent on like I'm a fucking powerhouse and I'm plowing through these levels based on what I got. But something about that is just really fun. I'm really sucked into that gameplay loop, and especially playing co-op. But I would say that I've almost had more fun playing that game single player, because you can really stack all those items. Like some of them will, unlike Blazing Beaks, where like a lot of those perks will affect both of us. Like these are kind of specific to each player, and when you're playing single player, it's just a little easier to manage. Like what perks do I have? Can I look at what they do? I haven't been able to figure out in co-op at least how to pull up like the menu, but it does have online co-op, which is great.
That is cool.
If you have that at all. But
I mean, with co-op, I get the feeling that it's like when you and I are playing, it's two characters at like half strength, whereas, if you were doing single player and getting all the perks for yourself,
you
probably really properly buffed.
Right. And it's hard like the game it's like quick, you're kind of rushing against that clock again, so you don't have as much time like in Blazing Beaks, again, not to keep drawing comparisons, but just to use that roguelike comparison. Like after you clear a room or a floor in Blazing Beaks, you have a minute to like say, the hearts and the coins and the keys might disappear, but like the actual artifacts that you're collecting are not going to disappear. So you can sit there and say, okay, who does it make more sense to take this item? But in Rogue Legacy, in Risk of Rain, you're just like enemies just keep spawning, and like as time goes on, it just gets more and more and more, and it just gets so overwhelming. You don't have time to really say like, oh, come over here, I'm gonna save this item for you. I don't even know if they disappear, but it's just so fast and hectic and frantic. You don't really have time to juggle that. It's just like, hey, this item's right here in front of me, I'm just gonna grab it. Or I'm just gonna spend this money on this. And you're leveling up as you go. You have like an XP meter that you kill enemies to get money and XP and all that stuff, and it's just, I don't know, it just has a really addictive loop despite being kind of repetitive and kind of redundant, kind of rote. I don't know, but what are you thinking so far, DJ? Because I know we played together the first time we both played, and both kind of bounced off of it, and now I played a lot while recovering, and then we both have been diving in just the last like week or so.
Yeah, I mean, I've only played with you, so I haven't gotten that single player experience, so I guess I can't speak to how it compares, even though I just did. Yeah, I think right now my main interest is due to its difficulty.
It's hard as fuck. I was gonna say hell, and that felt weird. It's hard as hell, man. But no, it's so hard. It's just like
I can't let it beat me.
Oh well, you have to though. It's just like even with my enforcer exploits, it's just like swarmed with enemies. It's crazy. But it's really fun. But it does, like I said, it does get a little chaotic, hard to manage, even on single player. Just like, what the hell? Where is my character in this just barrage of enemies?
Jeez.
But it is pretty fun, and it really does allow you to just kind of like see what happens. Like what items am I going to get, and how am I going to exploit this? Like in a way, like not Dark Souls, but Dead Cells does a little bit, where you're like, oh, I have the fire, and like I also have these arrows that do more damage to enemies that are on fire.
Right.
But it really takes that to the next level of like piling on, and like you can get perks that you collect another of that same perk, and it just piles on, and like times 2, times 3, times 4, and it really multiplies those perks.
I'm a sucker for that type of stuff in games.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm a huge sucker for the different characters, and like even going all the way back to playing stuff like Mega Man growing up, I loved beating the bosses and getting those new abilities. So I'm just a huge sucker for like new play styles or new mechanics or anything that can kind of twist the game on its head. And like I said, up to this point, it's been kind of, some of these characters feel similar, but I don't know. One of the characters DJ played as today is Acrid, I think is the name, or Acrid. I'm not sure how you say it, but like that's almost strictly melee. You have a couple of like minorly ranged attacks, but like then my character has like almost like a
Your basic
shotgun, and
attacks,
like some attacks are like will literally travel the whole horizontal distance of the screen. No matter what, like it'll pierce every enemy in its path. So like you really a lot of playstyles. And this robot character, I forget the name of it, but the robot character that we unlocked from repairing enough drones in the game, has like almost like you launch like 3 mini grenades, or you shoot up these like heat-seeking lasers, or like
set some mines.
Yeah, you could drop a bunch of mines and drop a turret. Like a lot of different playstyles, like really baked into this like core gameplay loop. So pretty excited to see, if I can unlock a couple more characters. Definitely excited to try out this robot character. So
nice.
Recommended if like I said, I even played a little bit of it and bounced off. So if you happen to play through this one or just didn't catch your eye or whatever, and it's interesting also playing this game, and we'll go into this on another time or on another episode, because I would like you to play a little more Cave Blazers, Randy, before we talk about this more.
Yeah.
But like it's really interesting to see how much Cave Blazers takes from this game and from Spelunky. Like it is a really, really almost 50-50 split of those two games. Maybe not 50-50, but a really, 1/3 each of those games, and then like a third of its own. Cave Blazers spin on the vibe, or on the mix, on the roguelike genre. But it's really interesting to see like once I started playing this, and after having gotten so into Cave Blazers, I was just like, okay, I kind of see what Risk of Rain's doing here. So letting those items stack up on each other and whatnot. So I'm really glad that I decided to go back in, and like I said, again, this is available. We've been playing on the PS4, but it is available on the Switch and Steam, and I'm sure Xbox. I think it's available everywhere.
I didn't realize it was on Switch. That's interesting.
It is, yeah. And this is from Hopu or Hapu Games. I'm not sure how you pronounce that, but yeah, they have this game, and they have another game called Deadbolt that also looks really cool. I've not played it, but yeah, it's a similar kind of style, at least in terms of like look and whatnot. A little more zoomed in, not so zoomed out, but it's like a little more stealth based. Almost looks like a little bit of a Gunpoint, Mark of the Ninja kind of vibe. It looks really cool, and both are only $10 full price on the, standard price on the eShop. So
nice,
definitely worth checking out. I'm sure $10 elsewhere, if not cheaper. So definitely worth checking out. Again, I can't speak for Deadbolt myself. I have not played it, but it looks cool. But definitely Risk of Rain.
I've been digging its soundtrack on Spotify, so there's that.
Yeah. And good. Speaking of, the soundtrack on Risk of Rain is awesome. Like it gets intense when you're fighting the bosses, but it's got this like really chill, not too electronic, but not too ambient vibe to it. It's great. Yeah, the soundtrack is one of the things that's really kept me roped into that game. I'm glad you mentioned that, because that almost glazed right over that. But
no problem.
The soundtrack is fucking awesome in that.
It can definitely be a driving force to continue playing games. That's for sure. Especially if it's action-oriented.
Yeah, and especially in these roguelike games where you're playing it over and over and over again.
Yep.
And sometimes, I still am, like, when I'm playing solo, I'm putting on a podcast or doing something else while I'm kind of playing in the background. But I still like when you just can kind of turn that music on underneath, and it's just like, it just gets me in the zone with this game big time. It's great.
That's sweet. Yeah, I'm going to have to check that out.
Yeah, definitely recommended.
Now you're talking about the soundtrack makes me feel like we need to talk about Steriden at some point soon.
maybe we can do a little Steriden Cave Blazers combo to just talk about a couple more roguelikes that are, in this case, a little bit different, from the from one another, as opposed to, not that Blazing Beaks and Risk of Rain are all that similar either, but
pursuing roguelikes.
That's definitely going to be the case from my angle, because I find myself like, I think I mentioned this during the Moonlighter conversation, or when I was talking about Moonlighter last week, but like I get sucked into that like lifestyle aspect of the game of like, this game's so hard and I just want to beat it or just make some progress in it, that like I get home from work, and if I'm not binging a certain TV show, or I'm not specifically playing Hollow Knight or a certain game or anything like that, I just find myself gravitating back towards like, okay, I got to get a little further in Blazing Beaks, or I got to see if I can unlock another character in Risk of Rain, or
I appreciate that, because I believe that any roguelike I've played I'd heard of from you, and probably games that I never would have played before. And I'm very glad I did. So
yeah, it really is. I think
embrace the lifestyle, Kevin.
Yeah. I think I mentioned this last week too, but it really is like rekindling that like arcade feel for me, like that
is cool.
That pick up and play, that like just like making a little bit of progression, but in a lot of cases it's just like you're just getting better at the game, and learning how to best it. And I really like that feeling. It's really rewarding, as opposed to, I don't have 30 hours to sink into a game very often like I used to.
Right.
So being able to get, even though I'll sink 100 hours or something into Enter the Gungeon, it's in these short little bursts. I don't have to like stay in tune with the story, or like, wait, what was I doing again? It's like, no, I'm just trying to beat this fucking game. so it's nice to have that kind of just one track focus on these roguelike games. So yeah, Risk of Rain and Blazing Beaks and all these games I definitely plan on touching on again. And yeah, I'd love to talk some more Cave Blazers and stare it in eventually.
Let's go for it.
Well, speaking of what we want to talk about in the future, I know we last time discussed this off the air, but we played some Hollow Knight this week, and I know you're probably going to dig some more into it at some point, Randy. But do we want to pick a game for next week to talk about?
We do want to pick a game.
Do you guys want to do Cave Story for next week, or do you want to do something different?
Cave Story, yeah. Dragon Blaze, we could talk about that. We haven't talked about stuff like that.
Ooh, we could do. I'd be down to do Dragon Blaze. We could talk about like a bunch. Then we get to go in from that to like I could talk about a few other like the Psycho games that I've played so far, and then just talk about what else we've been playing in the meantime. And those will be like, we could kind of lump that into like, hey, here's like a nice pick up and play game for when you don't have a lot of time.
Right.
So yeah, next week we're going to be a little bit more limited on time here, at least as far as having time available. The game goes. So I think we're going to keep it a little bit lighter, at least as far as substance goes, although not as far as the game play goes, or what I can't think of how I want to word that, but we're going to play some Psycho shooters in particular. I know Randall mentioned wanting to play some Dragon Blaze.
Yeah, absolutely.
Which that one I've put quite a bit of, probably more time into any of them. There's probably 6, 7, maybe 8, half dozen of them available on the Switch for about $8. They've also probably more famously made Gunbird, Gunbird 2, the Strikers 1945, 1942, sounds 43, right. Whatever the hell its series it's called. But they've made some of those classic, like more traditionally vertically scrolling arcade shoot 'em ups, but they have some horizontal scrolling bullet hell shooters as well. And so we're gonna maybe take a stab at a couple of those, make a couple of recommendations on that front, and then just talk about what else we've been able to kind of squeeze in a slightly more limited week of gaming time.
For sure, I'm excited.
I'm going in blind to these games,
which
that'll be worth my time.
Nice. I'm curious because have you played many bullet hell shooters, like in the likes of, not necessarily that these have a ton in common, but like have you played stuff like Ikaruga or
no sir,
Gradius or
no, sir.
R-Type,
nothing
along those lines? Okay, so DJ's
that's interesting.
Not even a video
noob.
game player.
Although he has played Silver Surfer,
right?
So no problems there.
Yeah, right.
So I guess we'll touch on some of those. I've really enjoyed stuff like I said, like Dragon Blaze has a few interesting slight quirks or mechanics to it. I also really like Zero Gunner 2 is a really fun one. So yeah, we'll get a little more into that. We'll get a little bit more into that. Jesus, if I can talk. We'll get a little bit more into that next week. How many times can I say that?
Enough to be excited about it. Let's do it.
Let's play some shooters, man.
Let's do it.
But anyways, unless you guys have anything else to add, I think we can pretty much wrap it there. Yeah,
let's wrap it.
Cool. Well, thanks again for listening. This has been Pursuing Pixels, and my name's Kevin Portelli.
I'm DJ Mandolini.
Randall Nolery.
And yeah, you can find us on Twitch, on Twitter, Instagram. We try to post about game deals. We'll do streams of, like DJ and I did a couple streams of Blazing Beaks. We've also got some stuff up on YouTube. So we'll try to keep up at least a little bit here and there of the games we've been playing and talking about on the podcast, and have some, stuff on YouTube and Twitch to correspond with that. So you can at least skim through those. They don't have to watch the whole thing or anything, but just skim through and see if there's anything that looks interesting to you on the videos. So if you're curious about any of the things we talk about, check us out there. Otherwise, until next week, have a good night. Have a good rest of the week. And we'll talk to you next time.
Good night, everybody.
Bye.
DG for David Games, man. I was like, there's no way I could like naturally work that in any way possible. But
I think you should force it, Kevin. Just force it.
David Games, Hammer Nail, Mandolini.
Yeah. Just keep on weekly just forcing a joke. And
it's the David James Hammer Nail. Sounds like a wrestling move.
That actually does.
Oh, and he hits him with the David James Hammer Nail. Oh my God. Through the table.
I thought that was out loud. God damn it.
You're going to prison, son.
Stop this.
Oh, man. Oh, man. Well, speaking of stopping this, we should probably stop this recording here.
Let's stop it.
All right, I'm gonna hit the space bar here.